Hi, I'm Plonk1337, and I'm here to present my presentation on how to kill. First is the introduction to Ultra Kill. Ultra Kill is a fast-paced, ultra-violent, old-school first-person shooter where you travel through hell in a constant search for blood to fuel yourself. You play as V1, a robot that heals with blood. Being near an enemy when it dies will refill your health because the blood's splashing on you. Why am I making this presentation? This is one of my favorite games, and I struggled a lot with this fight when I first did it. And I got help, and now I can beat it. And I want to be able to help other people beat it. If you haven't picked up on it yet, this is how to kill Minos Prime. Learn how to beat Minos Prime in 3 easy steps. Learning the game, learning your enemy, and killing your enemy. It's actually more like 6 steps. The materials you need are a computer, a keyboard, and a mouse, and the game. How to play. How to control the game. WASD to move left, right, forward, and backward. Mouse to look around. Left click to shoot. Right click to use your weapon ability. E to switch to alternate weapons. R to use the whiplash, a grappling hook. G to swap arms, F to punch, Control to slide, Shift to dash, and space to jump. So step 1 is your weapons. The revolver, shotgun, saw blade launcher, rail cannon, rocket launcher, and arms. I have a video to show you. And really quickly, let me just say, this is before that fancy schmancy SRS cannon exists. And all those funny cannonballs you shoot at things. You kids in your fucking I had to do this the old way. Without cannonballs. So first is the revolver. It has its normal shot, a charge shot. It has coins that you can shoot up, and then shoot the coins, and they snap to the enemy's heads. There's the shotgun, your normal shotgun blast. You can charge up this shotgun to shoot like a grenade. As you can see, it explodes, and then the pump shotgun, you pump it. It does more damage the more you pump. If you pump it too much, it explodes when you shoot it. The saw blade launcher, it launches saw blades that cut through enemies. You can shoot a magnet, and the saw blade will orbit the magnet and slice all the things around it in half. Or, the alternate, you can overheat the saw blade by shooting enough of them, and then you get a big orange saw blade that cuts through a lot more enemies, lights them on fire, and lasts a lot longer. The rail cannon, you have your normal electric rail cannon that does a lot of damage and pierces a lot of enemies. As you'll see in a minute. It normally has a recharge time of like 15 seconds or something, but I have that turned off for demonstration purposes. The malicious rail cannon explodes. Big explosion. Does a lot of damage. And then there's the screwdriver. You shoot it at an enemy, it sticks into them, and they continuously bleed, so you can always heal when you're near them. Then, you see, I parry the screwdriver, and it flies out. The rocket launcher, it's a rocket launcher. It shoots rockets. There's the freeze frame. Oh, wait, no. If you shoot things nearby, if you shoot a rocket nearby to launch them up in the air, shoot them in the air, they explode bigger. And then there's the freeze frame. You freeze the rockets in place, and then you let go, and they fly at the enemy. In your arms, you have the whiplash, pulls you to bigger enemies, pulls smaller enemies to you. You have the knuckle blaster, big punch. If you hold down the button, it does a shockwave that does damage to enemies. And then the feedbacker. You could just punch guys. And you can parry them. And that's that. Okay. Step 1-3. Ultra cool. Weapons can be combined in all kinds of unique ways, but here are ones that will be used in the fight against Minos Prime. Here, demonstrating all these weapons. First is split coining. Throw a couple coins up in the air and shoot them, and it'll split and shoot multiple enemies at once. Then there's nuking. You shoot a core out of your shotgun, the grenade, and then you shoot it with a malicious rail cannon, and it does a big explosion that covers a lot of ground and does a lot of damage. Then there's saw blade. There's just saw storage. The saw blades orbit the magnet. You keep them orbiting the magnet for as long as you can. Anything in that outside ring will take a lot of continuous damage. And then, of course, there's projectile boosting. Parry with the feedbacker, punch at the same time you fire your shotgun, and you launch your shotgun shells, which will explode against anything they hit. There. That. Okay. Step 2. Knowing your enemy. Flesh and blood. The flesh prison has a few attacks. The cyan, hell orbs will begin to fly out of the flesh prison in an accelerating pattern around it. This is the only parryable thing that the flesh prison does. Although it's not really worth parrying, as it usually results in you taking more damage than you can do. This should be attempted as a last resort. You shouldn't be trying to do this usually unless you're really good at it. The purple, which is a black hole, moderately sized black and purple sphere that travels around you. It doesn't deal any damage, but if you get close enough, it'll deal 99 hard damage, essentially temporarily limiting your maximum health to 1 and making you not able to heal. And then the white. It creates a circular pattern below the player, and then shortly afterwards, summon a beam of light. This happens thrice, with each new pattern appearing just before a beam. The flesh prison will also summon minions in the form of these little eyes that shoot beams at you. After dealing enough damage, or being alive too long, the flesh prison will attach to them with some green light, and then eats them one by one, regenerating his health. While he's doing this, it is basically impossible to outdamage him, and you're not able to kill him while doing it. So kill him before he heals or prevent him from healing at all. Step 2 is the sole survivor. Minos Prime himself. He has Judgment, an explosive dropkick. It does more damage the closer V1 is to the center. Minos is airborne after teleporting. Can follow up with a die, crush, or a serpent. This attack can be parried. Judgment can be parried. If Minos doesn't follow up with any of those attacks, he will have a short recovery window independent of his stamina. Die Minos aims at V1 before instantly slamming towards them, creating a shockwave on impact. He stops tracking V1 briefly before the slam comes out, so it can be avoided. This attack can hit the walls or ceiling, and the shockwave created there, causing the shockwave to be created there and canceling Minos' recovery animation. This is only used while he's in the air. Crush is a version of die, so crush and die both. If V1 is too close when initiated, it goes straight down and creates a large explosion and does 50 damage. Crush does 50 damage, die does 30. There's the Serpent, a serpentine projectile that homes on the V1. Parrying it back at Minos Prime will deal a good amount of damage and heal you back to full health. It's worth doing whenever you can. Then there's Prepare Thyself, a 2-kick combo followed by a serpent that you can parry. Thy End Is Now, which is a 4-punch combo. He'll dash and then punch. If you're airborne at any time, Minos will cancel and do an uppercut. On the final hit, you can parry and deal damage and stun him for a second. Overhead, Minos teleports directly above V1 and does a straight down attack after a sound cue and a blue flash. Only used while he's in the air. If V1 uppercut, Minos Prime teleports to V1, attempts a single hit. If it connects, you get knocked up in the air along with Minos. And then he usually does a ground slam afterwards if you're up in the air. When he's below 50% health, he'll override any voice lines and say weak. He'll start glowing blue, die and begin following up die or crush or an overhead. Oh wait, shit. Minos Prime can use serpentine projectiles after jumping and before following up with a die, crush, or overhead. Standard difficulty. Parrying Judgment no longer prevents the explosion, forcing you to dash or just take the damage. Rending Apart. So first is Flesh Prison. So what you want to do is you put out a bunch of freeze frame rockets before the fight starts, walk forward, and then start saws, stick some magnets in them, saws, then do the nuke from earlier to try and kill as many of the eyes as you can and deal the damage to the Flesh Prison. Then try and projectile boost into him, shoot some rockets, try and deal as much damage as possible. Then use some of that split coining and the revolver to continue taking out the eyes. Until there are no eyes left. Then focus on the Flesh Prison and try and deal as much damage as possible. Yeah, just keep hitting it. If you can see, I messed up the nuke. And there, I got it. And the Flesh Prison is dead. Whoopsie. I opened up a new tab on accident. And then next up is Minos Prime. I have a video. Here he is. He starts with the best thing, a monologue. So you can start with the saws, placing a magnet nearby him and getting the saws to spin around him. I actually did it in the wrong spot. He's supposed to be in that rim, so he'll take as much damage as possible. There, you parry whatever attacks you can. Dodge what you can. Try and stay on the ground, because he's a lot more dangerous if you're in the air. And then just keep projectile boosting, hitting him, parrying his projectiles, shoot him with the rail cannon for a bunch of damage. There he is. He's at half health. I like using the slab piercer because it's hit scan and you don't have to worry about him teleporting away before the projectile hits. Parry as many things as possible to keep your health up high. If you're having trouble, you can use the screwdriver, so you won't have to worry about his melee attacks as much, and you'll heal as long as you're near him. See, I keep parrying the snakes, try and do that as much as possible. It's really worth it. And there it is. He's dead. And there's him, crying about how much of a failure he is. And there you go. You can leave the level now, as you have now beat Minos Prime and the Flesh Prison. Also, not to flex, but I did get a P rank here. So, you know, I'm just good. Okay. There you go. You have learned how to kill him. Good job. Now you better subscribe, otherwise I will make a how to kill presentation on you next.